This is Stefan Mihaly with Joe Exotic. Joe, under the circumstances, how are you?
Not too bad. In fact, cancer locked up with a bunch of medical people that don't give a crap about you. It's rough, but I'm hanging in there because I'm got faith that Trump will see that this is wrong.
Well, let's talk about that. First and foremost, Joe, how did you find out that George Santos was penning letters for the South Shore Press behind prison bars? How'd you find out about it?
My people copied and pasted his letters that he writes to you and emailed them to me.
And what are your thoughts on reading George's content, what he wrote about? What reaction did you have since you're literally in the same shoes that he is?
I'm kind of disappointed in the way that he's being treated, but it doesn't surprise me because I spent 2 years and 8 months in solitary confinement at the beginning of all of this. And the sad part is if somebody has threatened him, what they call protective custody is basically torture because you're locked in a room 23, 24 hours a day by yourself, no TV, no radio, hard to get even hygiene materials out of the people that run the shoe. It's torture. It's literally torture. But, Stefan, the thing that makes my knowledge different than most people that advocate for prison reform and how George is being treated and how I was treated when I was in solitary confinement is I was licensed by the United States Department of Agriculture to own a zoo, okay? And under the Animal Welfare Act, right, for a chimpanzee, for one chimpanzee, you have to have 400 square feet inside and out.
This call is from a federal prison.
800 square feet, and this chimpanzee has to have the right to go in and out as he chooses, all right? And then he has to have 10% of his body weight of fresh, wholesome, nutritious food every day. So say a chimp weighs 150 pounds, that's 15 pounds of food, okay, a day. Then they have to have either a TV or a radio, enrichment toys changed out every day. And every time you add another chimp, you have to add another 800 square feet. A human being, like where George is right now, under federal law, is 70 square feet for a human being, okay, to be locked in a room. And then only 2,000 calories a day. And unfortunately, the federal prison system, the BOP, supplements those calories. In order to get the 2,000 calories, they serve you a lot of cookies and a lot of cake that's high in calories because the food is pathetic. You can't even live on just what they give you. All right, so they supplement your calorie intake with cookies and cake, and then they wonder why everybody has to go get a diabetes shot before they eat every day. It's insane that our politicians take more money from animal rights people and we treat animals better in this country than we do a human being.
So, Joe, you were in solitary confinement for more than 2 years, and George has only been in for a few weeks. Mentally, can you help our listeners and viewers have a better understanding of what exactly he's going through mentally? Because you did it for over 2 years, being in solitary confinement.
When you first get put in there, he's only been in there for a few weeks, so it hasn't really had time to sink in. And being that they are calling that protected custody, God knows how long he's gonna be in there. I wish that y'all could advocate and get him moved to somewhere where I'm at now, because where I'm at is kind of like a college campus. It's an administrative center, and there's no bars or no cells. We live in dorms. But give him another 3 or 4 weeks, and he will lay there. I laid there every day praying to God that my heart would stop, because the torture of being taken from a social society and locked in a room with nothing but your own mind to drive you crazy, it's literally torture. I laid there for 2 years praying to die.
And now let's talk President Trump. I know from a purely political perspective, Joe, people could have the mindset of, you know what, if there's any pardons coming for people like you, for George Santos, it'll come after the midterm. So there's no supposed political pushback or blowback. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think it's possible that you and George Santos will get a pardon, but it's going to come after the midterms? Have you thought about that?
I have some pretty influential lawyers. One of my lawyers is Levi McCatherine with the Dallas Cowboys, the attorney for the Dallas Cowboys. And then I have Roger Roots and John Phillips. The word has it that the pardons should have already came, but unfortunately they're having some kind of problems with the Deputy Attorney General right now. I look for more pardons to come before Christmas, actually, before the holidays, because especially someone like me, if he would pardon me before the midterms, I could dominate the news for a solid 6 months. And I don't even need a pardon. I'll take the clemency because, my president is a felon. So even though I'm innocent, just give me time served and let me go, because I can go do my business and carry on with life with this still hanging over my head. I don't care because I look up to President Trump that much. And he's the president of the United States after what they've done to him. But if they were to, give me and George either pardons or clemency, commute our sentences down to time served, between the two of us, we could dominate the Republican election for the midterms. That would be the best thing that they could do.
From a federal prison.
Right now, with what's going on out in the world with the ICE people and the immigration and Donald Trump blowing boats out of the water, I really don't think pardoning me and George before the midterms would actually hurt anybody.
Well, let's talk about George's case specifically too, because a lot of people are saying, even George would tell me, hey, look, I did wrong. Yes, I should pay. But 7 years seems excessive. What are your thoughts on the fact that he's in solitary confinement right now and he's going to serve 7 years for the crimes that he committed?
Yeah, it's crazy. I would never have believed it until I came to federal prison. How many child molesters are in here and sex offenders? And I've been with child molesters that had 2 hands-on victims that only served 5 years. They only got 5-year sentences. George didn't touch nobody. All he done was he lied and made some stuff up. That's like me. Hell, the only thing I actually really did in my case, because they've all admitted to perjury on world television on season 2 of Tiger King, I euthanized 5 tigers after my vet told me to. 21 years? Do I really deserve 21 years when child molesters are getting out in 5? Murderers are getting out in 16? Our system is so ass backwards, and they wonder why they have to move troops into all these different cities to cut down the crime. They'll move the National Guard into Chicago or Washington, D.C., and they'll arrest these people, and they'll be back out on the street in 2 or 3 months. Instead, they've got the prisons full of people like me and George that are a threat to no one.
You mentioned President Trump before, Joe. I'm sure you're reading about current events in the news, cracking down on immigration, securing the border. I'm just curious, what are your thoughts on his presidency so far?
I admire President Trump. I wish that he would back up more of his threats. Job on the border. Even though I'm married to an illegal immigrant, George came in, my husband's name is George too, he came into America the wrong way, and he deserved to be deported. But, I've put out in the press, I don't know how many times, that when I make it out of here, I'm going to work my ass off to be able to afford one of Trump's gold cards to get him back into America the right way. And if it costs me $5 million, it costs me $5 million. But I think he's doing a good job. I know he's making a lot of enemies right now because, the Democrats and the people that are for the illegal immigrants to be in our country are all up in an uproar. I think as a person that grew up on a farm with illegal Mexicans working the farm, my whole childhood, I was raised with illegal Mexicans because that's how we farmed. I wish President Trump and Congress would do something for the ones that work in the agriculture division, because I think 6 months down the road you're going to see that affect grocery prices and food prices dramatically, because you're just not going to find any white or black people that are going to go work in the fields or lay asphalt on a highway when it's 105 degrees outside. You're just not going to do it. I don't care how much you pay them.
What is your passionate plea to President Trump when it comes to your case and the case of George Santos?
President Trump, Don Jr., even advocated for me to get a pardon because he saw on television what was really true and what really wasn't. But we have their cell phones now, and it's all been put on the website, joeexoticofficial.com. Have somebody take an hour and watch season 2 of Tiger King, where they all admitted to perjury, and they admitted that they had a plot to kill me in order to get my zoo. I've lost 8 years of my life. I've lost my parents. I've lost 55 years of hard work. Never even had a speeding ticket. I just want to move on past this, and I wish you would give me a second chance at life before this cancer takes me out. God bless everybody, and I appreciate your support, Stefan, and I will stay in touch with you and see if we can't make it a little better for George Santos, too.